Welcome to the InnoGuide Podcast, where we share the works of authors and mentors to guide innovation. In this episode number 54, we'll be sharing part 2 of The Great Healthcare Disruption by Marschall Runge, MD. Chapter 6, Medicine Transformed by AI. Let's talk about the most electrifying force in healthcare today, artificial intelligence. AI, and especially large language models, LLMs. They're not just another wave of innovation. They're a tsunami, reshaping every aspect of medicine, from the way we diagnose and treat patients to how we run hospitals and even who delivers care. The pace is dizzying. By the time I finish writing about one breakthrough, another has already arrived. So the question isn't, will AI change medicine, but how can we make sure it actually improves care? The promise and the fear. I've had countless conversations with experts on both sides of the AI debate. Some see AI as the answer to every problem in healthcare, while others worry about ceding too much control to machines, losing the human touch, or mishandling sensitive data. Both camps have valid points, but rather than getting lost in hype or fear, I believe we should focus on the real-world problems AI can solve, especially where healthcare is underperforming. AI is already making a difference. It can take over time-consuming administrative tasks, summarizing notes, analyzing data, even drafting clinical documentation, freeing up doctors and nurses to spend more time with patients. In an era of provider burnout and rising costs, that's a game changer. AI can also accelerate early disease detection, personalize treatments, and help us do more with fewer people. But let's be clear, this isn't about replacing expert care with robots. It's about using AI to support and augment healthcare professionals so they can focus on what only humans do: connect, empathize, and heal. The AI scribe: less paperwork, more patient care. No doctor has ever wished for more paperwork. That's why AI scribes are so exciting. These digital assistants can listen to patient encounters and automatically generate clinical notes. A pilot at the Permanente Medical Group showed that over 10 weeks, 3,400 physicians used AI scribes for 300,000 patient visits. The result? Less time spent on documentation, more time for patients, and higher job satisfaction. Of course, the technology isn't perfect. Sometimes the AI hallucinates, making up details or misinterpreting what was said. That's why physician oversight is still essential. For now, AI scribes are assistants, not replacements, but the potential is huge, and as the technology improves, it will only get better. Generative AI for nurses. Nurses are also drowning in documentation. The Mayo Clinic, Epic, and Abridge are working together to build AI tools that automate nursing notes, assessments, and care plans. Nurses review and sign off on the AI-generated data, saving time and reducing burnout. Some worry this could lead to fewer nursing jobs, but with a national nurse shortage and high burnout rates, AI is more likely to help than to hurt. Plus, it frees nurses to focus on what they do best: caring for patients. AI in research, artisanal proteins, and gene editing. AI isn't just making healthcare more efficient, it's enabling things we couldn't do before. At the University of Washington, Dr. David Baker's team uses AI to design entirely new proteins, accelerating drug discovery and creating treatments for cancer and viral diseases. What once took years now takes weeks. Similarly, startups like Profluent are using AI to invent new gene editing tools, potentially making gene therapy more precise and accessible. These advances are both thrilling and daunting. We still need rigorous testing to ensure safety, but the possibilities are staggering. Smart hospitals and the AI-enhanced OR. AI is powering a new generation of smart hospitals. Companies like Artisight are deploying AI in operating rooms to monitor every action, offer real-time guidance, and help prevent errors. AI-powered imaging systems can highlight critical structures during surgery, while machine learning algorithms analyze surgical videos to identify best practices and pitfalls. Robotic surgical assistants guided by AI can perform delicate maneuvers with superhuman steadiness. Outside the OR, AI can spot when a patient is about to fall or needs urgent attention, raising alarms before disaster strikes. In radiology, AI can analyze images with accuracy that sometimes rivals or surpasses human experts, leading to faster, more accurate diagnoses. AI in clinical trials and medical devices. AI is transforming clinical trials by sifting through massive datasets to identify promising drug candidates, screen patients for eligibility, and monitor responses in real time. This could make trials faster, cheaper, and more effective, but we must guard against bias and ensure rigorous standards. On the device front, researchers at the University of Hong Kong have built a low-cost MRI machine that, when paired with AI, produces images as good as those from machines 60 times more powerful. This could bring MRI access to the 70 to 90% of the world's population that currently lacks it. AI is also being used to personalize deep brain stimulation for Parkinson's patients, cutting symptom time in half in early studies. Population-level insights and public health. AI's power isn't limited to individual care. Predictive analytics can help us anticipate and prevent crises like sepsis readmissions or disease outbreaks by analyzing data from EHRs, wearables, and environmental sensors. AI can even identify communities at risk for poor health outcomes based on factors like housing materials, as Dr. Akbar Walji's work in Global Health demonstrates. A cardiologist at Michigan Medicine is using AI to personalize health nudges, delivering the right message at the right time based on a person's location, weather, and habits. But as he points out, nudging behavior is one thing, changing outcomes is another. That's why rigorous clinical trials are essential to test these new tools. I've seen plenty of revolutionary technologies come and go, but I'm convinced that AI is the real deal. Used wisely, it will empower, not replace, healthcare professionals. AI can analyze data, generate personalized recommendations, and handle routine queries, freeing up humans for the complex, nuanced work of healing. But we must proceed thoughtfully. We need robust frameworks to validate AI insights, train clinicians to use these tools wisely, and ensure ethical, equitable deployment. Privacy, bias, and access must be top priorities. Future of medicine isn't about AI taking over. It's about using AI as a powerful complement to human judgment, enhancing the connection between patient and provider, and delivering high-quality, deeply human care. If we get this right, AI will help us deliver on the true promise of medicine, to prevent disease, prolong life, and just maybe make the physician a little less necessary. Chapter 7. Next Generation Therapies. Let's imagine you're the parent of a joyful 2-year-old. At a routine checkup, the pediatrician notices your child is slow to walk. After months of tests, you get the devastating news. Your child has metachromatic leukodystrophy, MLD, a rare genetic disease that will rob them of movement, speech, and ultimately life, often before age 5. But then you hear about a new gene therapy that could dramatically improve your child's prognosis. The catch? It costs $4.25 million for a single treatment. This is the new world of next-generation therapies, breathtaking breakthroughs, but with price tags that can make your head spin. This chapter is about the double-edged sword of modern molecular genetics technologies like RNA therapies and CRISPR gene editing. These advances are transforming our ability to treat rare and complex diseases, sometimes offering hope where there was none. They also force us to grapple with tough questions about cost, access, and equity. Let's start with the science. Gene therapy has come a long way since the 1960s, when the idea of inserting DNA into patient cells was just a dream. In 1989, a 4-year-old named Ashanti De Silva became the first person in the U.S. to receive gene therapy for severe combined immunodeficiency, SCID. Her immune system was failing, and no bone marrow donor could be found. Researchers extracted her blood cells, inserted the missing gene using a virus, and reinfused the cells. Ashanti survived and is still alive today, though she needs ongoing treatment. This was the dawn of a new era. How gene therapy works. Gene therapy comes in 2 main flavors. Ex vivo therapy removes cells from the patient, modifies them in the lab, and returns them. In vivo therapy delivers the gene directly into the body, often using a virus as a vector. These approaches are being used for everything from immune disorders to neurological diseases. CRISPR, the cut-and-paste tool of genetics, lets us precisely edit DNA, removing faulty genes or inserting healthy ones. It's already being used to treat sickle cell disease and other conditions. Artisense oligonucleotides, ASOs, and RNA interference are other tools that can silence or correct faulty genes at the RNA level, offering hope for rare diseases that were once untreatable. But here's the rub. These therapies are expensive. The MLD therapy is $4.25 million. Luxturna, which can restore vision in children with a rare eye disease, costs $850,000 per patient. Zolgensma, a gene therapy for spinal muscular atrophy in infants, is another $1 million treatment. These prices reflect the complexity of development and the potential for a one-time cure, but they also raise profound questions. Who pays? Who decides who gets treated, and how do we balance the needs of the few with rare diseases against the needs of many? The Institute for Clinical and Economic Review, ICER, evaluated Luxturna and found it was 4 times too expensive based on traditional cost-effectiveness measures. But is it fair to use the same yardstick for a one-time cure as for a lifetime of dialysis or heart surgery? How do we measure the value of a child who can see, walk, or speak thanks to a single treatment? These are questions we'll be wrestling with for years to come. Initially, small biotech firms led the charge in gene and RNA therapies, companies like Genevant, BlueRock, CRISPR Therapeutics, and Spark Therapeutics. But now the pharmaceutical giants have moved in. Roche, Bayer, Novartis, Pfizer, and others are investing heavily, bringing the resources needed to scale these therapies and navigate the complex landscape of delivery, reimbursement, and regulation. The numbers are telling. In 2023, about 1,200 patients in the U.S. received gene therapies. By 2030, that number is expected to exceed 48,000. Pipeline is growing fast, and so are the challenges. Who pays? Who benefits? Traditional insurance models weren't built for one-time $1 million treatments. What if the therapy's effect fades over time? What about the fact that these treatments are usually only available at major hospitals in big cities, deepening inequities in access? There's no clear roadmap for how to pay for these therapies or how to ensure fair access. One idea is to delay approval of some expensive therapies until costs come down, pushing companies to develop more affordable options. History shows this can work. The cost of a balloon angioplasty in the 1980s was $20,000 per patient. Today, more advanced stents are faster, safer, and about 20% of the cost. Lipitor, once $5 a pill, is now 30 cents. Even GLP-1 weight loss drugs have dropped in price within 2 years of launch. Competition and innovation can drive costs down, but it takes time and tough decisions. The mRNA revolution. Alongside gene therapy, mRNA technology has exploded onto the scene. COVID-19 vaccines prove that mRNA can be used to rapidly deploy safe, effective vaccines. But the potential goes far beyond infectious disease. mRNA therapeutics could treat genetic disorders, cancer, and chronic diseases by instructing cells to make specific proteins. Cancer vaccines, treatments for rare diseases, and even self-amplifying mRNA vaccines, which teach the body to make more mRNA, are all in the pipeline. A study in patients with autoimmune diseases like lupus and scleroderma showed that a single infusion of a modified immune cell could eliminate symptoms for 2 years. This is the kind of leap that was unimaginable a decade ago. The systemic challenge. Delivering these therapies isn't just about the science. It requires new healthcare delivery models, specialized facilities, complex logistics, new protocols for patient selection, consent, and follow-up. The entire system, from hospitals to insurers to regulators, must adapt. And then there's the ethical challenge. How do we decide which therapies to fast-track, who gets them, and when to wait for lower-cost alternatives? The NIH and FDA could play a bigger role in oversight in expediting approval when warranted, as they did for COVID-19 vaccines. We're living through a revolution in genetic medicine. The science is breathtaking, but the challenges are just as big. We need new approaches to payment, insurance, and public policy to ensure these therapies fulfill their promise. We must be hard-headed about cost and compassionate about access, transparent in our decision-making, and always focused on the true value to patients and society. The next generation of therapies will force us to make hard choices about cost, equity, and access. If we get it right, we'll transform lives. If we get it wrong, we risk deepening disparities or missing out on cures. The future demands both excitement for what's possible and rigorous preparation for the challenges ahead. Chapter 8. Preparing for the Next Crisis. Let's face it, in the U.S., healthcare is often siloed, with each hospital, clinic, and provider operating in its own bubble. But as we look to the future, it's clear that the threats we face, pandemics, cyber attacks, climate disasters, don't respect those boundaries. If we want to weather the next big crisis, we need to break down those silos and work together in ways we never have before. What will the next crisis look like? It's tempting to think the next crisis will be another pandemic. COVID-19 left a deep mark, and it's easy to imagine a new infectious disease, bird flu, a virulent influenza, or even Ebola sweeping through the country. But not all healthcare crises are caused by germs. Some of the most devastating threats come from less obvious sources: climate change and cyber attacks. Take hurricanes, for example. Katrina, Ike, and Helen together caused over 1,700 deaths and left hospitals in chaos for months or even years. Our healthcare infrastructure simply isn't resilient enough to handle these kinds of climate-induced disruptions. What about the cyber threat? The digital revolution has made healthcare more efficient, but it's also made us more vulnerable. Ransomware attacks like WannaCry, the Universal Health Services breach, and the 2024 Change Healthcare ransomware attack have shut down hospitals, forced patient transfers, and even led to preventable deaths. Protected health information, PHI, has been stolen, exposing millions to identity theft. A particularly alarming incident in 2024 involved a faulty software update from CrowdStrike, which triggered a global IT outage. Airlines, banks, and health systems were all affected, showing just how interconnected and fragile our systems have become. I had to get off the plane the night that happened, and with all computers showing a blue screen, nobody knew anything about anything. Lessons from the past. Measles returns. Sometimes the crisis is one we thought we'd already solved. In 2024, Michigan saw a measles outbreak. Wasn't measles eradicated in the U.S. in 2000? Yes, but declining vaccination rates and global travel have brought it back. The first patients were two young siblings with what looked like a cold and a rash. It turned out to be measles. By the end of the day, 20 more suspected cases were reported. Vaccination rates have dipped below the 95% needed to prevent outbreaks in most states. As a result, diseases we thought were gone are making a comeback, and the consequences can be deadly, not just from measles itself, but from the way it wipes out immune memory, making people vulnerable to other infections. The new crisis landscape. Looking ahead, we can be sure of one thing. More crises are coming. Whether it's infectious disease, cyber attacks, climate disasters, we need to be ready. COVID-19 pandemic forced hospitals to plan for the unexpected. At Michigan Medicine, we developed protocols to keep patients and staff safe, ramped down operations to handle the surge, and then faced the challenge of ramping back up and dealing with a massive backlog of postponed procedures and visits. We also expanded telemedicine and implemented new testing procedures, making us more nimble for the next crisis. The pandemic showed the power of partnerships between hospitals, the federal government, and pharmaceutical companies to fast-track vaccine development and distribution. But as healthcare has become more fragmented since COVID-19, I worry about how we'll fare next time. We need to leverage disruptors like drive-up screenings, virtual care from companies like Amazon's One Medical, and rapid drug manufacturing from Cost Plus Drugs to create a more coordinated response. Safeguarding data. A national electronic health record (EHR) system could help us spot outbreaks early, but only if we protect our data. The biggest risks often come from within. In 2024, 92% of U.S. healthcare organizations reported at least one cyber attack, and 69% said patient care was disrupted as a result. The Change Healthcare breach affected 1 in 3 medical records in the U.S., forcing providers to revert to manual processes and costing United Health Group nearly $3 billion. Centralizing critical functions in a few big provider creates systemic risks. When one node fails, the whole system can be affected. We need multiple layers of protection, constant vigilance, and regular drills, not just for disease outbreaks, but for cyber attacks too. Building resilience. The threat landscape is more complex than ever. Disease outbreaks, cyber threats, and climate disasters are all intersecting. Hurricane Katrina and Ike showed how vulnerable hospitals are to flooding and power outages. In 2024 alone, there were $24 billion weather disasters in the U.S., almost triple the annual average since 1980. We can't predict the weather, but we can build resilience. That means smart planning, resource sharing agreements, and regional coordination for evacuations. Hospitals need to partner with each other, with tech vendors, and with government agencies to ensure continuity of care. Crises are inevitable, but their impact can be mitigated. We need to create ethical policies for resource allocation, develop plans for partnering across systems, and build scalable, flexible care models. During COVID-19, field hospitals were set up in days with federal support. We need to remember those lessons and invest in public health and emergency preparedness. Healthcare institutions must also reinforce their role as trusted, apolitical sources of information. In a crisis, people need clear, reliable guidance. We must be that voice. Bottom line, we can't prevent all emergencies, but we can build systems resilient enough to adapt and respond. The decisions we make today will determine how well we weather the storms of tomorrow. In the next chapter, we'll look at how extending our lifespans and the disruptors driving longevity will further challenge and transform healthcare. Chapter 9. New Perspectives on Aging. Let's start with a little wisdom from George Burns. You can't help getting older, but you don't have to get old. That's the spirit driving today's longevity revolution. Living longer and living well isn't just a dream for the future, it's serious business. And some of the world's wealthiest people are betting big on it. The century of longevity. 100 years ago, the average American could expect to live just 32 years. Today, it's 77. That's a staggering leap thanks to better nutrition, housing, hygiene, public health, and medical advances. But the U.S. now ranks only 64th in global life expectancy. Places like Macau, Liechtenstein, Japan, and Singapore are all ahead, with life expectancies in the mid-80s. Why the slowdown? The COVID-19 pandemic, the opioid crisis, and the looming impact of obesity have all taken a toll. Still, each generation is inching upward. Gen X can expect to live to about 85, and Gen Z, or Generation Alpha, may see 100 as the new normal. But as we push the boundaries of lifespan, we have to ask, will these breakthroughs widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots? What happens when more people live longer, healthier, and sharper lives? How will this reshape society, the economy, and healthcare itself? The cost of cheating death. The quest to slow or even reverse aging has moved from science fiction to Silicon Valley. Since Alphabet launched Calico in 2013 with $1.5 billion, at least 10 major biotech startups have joined the race, backed by billionaire investors. But so far, the results are more promise than proof. Take Brian Johnson, a tech entrepreneur who spends $2 million a year trying to make death optional. His regimen is intense. 100 daily supplements, 70 pounds of vegetables a month, strict sleep routines, plasma transfusions, microneedling, LED therapy, and even fat injections from donors. He claims to have improved his muscle mass, reduced inflammation, and slowed his biological aging. He calls it an experiment of one, and he's happy to share his protocol online. But let's be honest, how many of us could afford or even want to live like this? Then there's Peter Diamandis, who spends $120,000 a year on longevity, including 7,500 monthly plasma exchanges, what he calls oil changes. He takes 70 supplements a day and tracks his health obsessively. Both men are investing in their futures, but the real verdict on their efforts won't be in until, well, the end. Despite the uncertainty, the longevity market is booming, worth $27 billion in 2023 and projected to hit nearly $45 billion by 2031. From lifespan to healthspan, lessons from the blue zones. While billionaires chase immortality, the rest of us can learn from the world's blue zones, places where people live long, healthy, and happy lives without high-tech interventions. Dan Buettner's National Geographic study identified 5 such regions: Okinawa, Japan; Sardinia, Italy; Nicoya, Costa Rica; Icaria, Greece; and Loma Linda, California. In 2023, Singapore was added as a 6th, thanks to government policies that engineered a healthier population. These were named blue zones because he circled them on a map in blue, quite literally. What do these places have in common? Genetics plays a role, but only about 20 to 30%. The real magic is in lifestyle, plant-based diets, regular natural movement, not gym workouts, but walking, gardening, and hiking, a strong sense of purpose, daily stress relief rituals, and deep social connections. They also practice the 80% rule, stopping eating when they're mostly full, and they eat their smallest meal in the late afternoon or early evening. Singapore's success is especially interesting because it's been intentionally designed. Walkable cities, healthy food subsidies, tax breaks for families living together, and even legislation to reduce sugar in drinks. It's a model for how public policy can shape health outcomes. What's the science of longevity? Beyond lifestyle, science is uncovering new ways to extend health span. Dr. Nir Zilai's research on centenarians found that many have high HDL cholesterol, over 100 compared to the average of 45 to 55, and low IGF-1, or growth hormone. These genetic advantages delay aging and protect against disease. Could gene therapies or medicines give everyone these health benefits? Maybe, but as we saw in Chapter 7, cost and access will be big hurdles. Slowing the progression of aging. The real revolution is in slowing age-related diseases. We're seeing breakthroughs in tissue and organ regeneration, neurocognitive therapies, immune function, and stem cell treatments. Take Alzheimer's new anti-amyloid drugs like Kisunla and Leqembi mark a shift from just managing symptoms to targeting disease biological roots. Kisunla, for example, allows treatment to stop after amyloid is cleared, potentially lowering costs and side effects. But these drugs are incremental, not cures. In a trial of 1,736 early-stage Alzheimer's patients, cognitive decline slowed by 4 to 7 months, about a 29% slower decline compared to placebo. There are risks too: brain swelling, bleeding, and high costs, $12,000 to $26,000 per course. And with nearly 7 million Americans affected, the numbers add up fast. Researchers are also exploring drugs that target tau proteins, neuroinflammation, and cellular energy, the hallmarks of aging framework. DNA damage, telomere shortening, epigenetic changes, and cellular senescence offer new targets for intervention. Dr. Eric Verdin at the Buck Institute is especially excited about epigenetic research, which could allow us to reset cells more easily than changing DNA itself. The big questions? Aging is no longer seen as inevitable decline. It's a complex process with many points of intervention, but as we develop new therapies, we have to ask, how do we pay for them? Who gets access? What are the economic and social impacts? If we can delay age-related diseases by even a year, what if we could extend healthy working lives by 5 years? And perhaps more importantly, what does a meaningful life look like in the shadow of immortality? Surveys show that while some people would choose to live forever, most of us value quality of life over sheer quantity. We're on the cusp of a new era, one where living longer and healthier is possible for more people than ever before. But the promise of longevity comes with challenges: financial, ethical, and social. We need to integrate new treatments into care models, train providers, and ensure access for all, not just the wealthy few. If we get this right, we won't just add years to life, we'll add life to years. The future is bright, but it demands thoughtful planning, bold policy, and a commitment to equity. The longevity revolution is here. Now it's up to us to make sure everyone can benefit. Chapter 10, Prescription for Change. Every week I hear from patients, sometimes with gratitude, sometimes with frustration, but always with a sense of what healthcare should be. These messages remind me that the gap between what people expect and what they actually experience is one of the most persistent challenges in medicine. At the start of this book, I laid out some of the core expectations that shape how Americans think about healthcare: that it's a fundamental right, that care should be timely and appropriate, that rationing is unacceptable, that insurance should cover all necessary treatments, that companies should be able to profit, and that we must control costs. These aren't laws, but they're deeply held beliefs, and as we've seen, they can sometimes get in the way of real progress. Despite our world-class technology and expertise, American healthcare is often fragmented, inefficient, and inequitable. We spend more than any other nation, yet our outcomes are slipping. Life expectancy has stagnated, in some cases is declining. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and mental health crises, maternal mortality are all on the rise. By 2050, the U.S. is projected to fall even further behind in global rankings for both life expectancy and healthy life expectancy. These are not just statistics, they're a call to action. But I'm optimistic. The disruptors we've discussed throughout this book, if managed wisely, can help us deliver better, more equitable care. But we can't get there with incremental tweaks or by clinging to the status quo. We need a new set of expectations grounded in reality and focused on what's possible. Here's where I think we should start. Basic health care is a right, but not everyone is entitled to every treatment. Patients deserve the right care, the right time, in the right place, but they also have a responsibility for their own health. We must acknowledge that care is always rationed and create rational systems to use our resources for the greatest good. Insurance can't cover every new intervention, especially as technology advances. Healthcare companies can grow and profit, but government must play a stronger role in controlling costs and ensuring access. To control costs, we must focus on creating a healthier population, not just treating illness. These are tough truths, and embracing them means accepting trade-offs. It may mean more government regulation, new forms of inequality, or a diminished role for free markets, but we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and we can't focus only on costs. Healthcare is an investment, not just an expense. Federal investments have sparked entire industries, saved lives, and driven innovation. 6 prescriptions for change. Prescription 1. Make prevention and primary care the foundation. We need to shift from sick care to well care. This means that every American should have a primary care provider, PCP, who coordinates their health, not just their health care. Other countries do this well. Denmark, for example, channels almost all care through PCPs who act as gatekeepers. This ensures everyone has a doctor overseeing their care and helps prevent unnecessary or fragmented treatment. To make this work, we need more PCPs. That means better pay, more training slots, incentives for medical students, and easier licensing for foreign-trained doctors. We should also require patients to provide their PCP's name when seeking care, so all providers are in the loop. EHRs can help flag interventions that need review, making the process smoother. I know the gatekeeper model has faced resistance, but it's time to revisit it with a focus on quality, not just cost. And yes, this means embracing a 2-tiered system. Guaranteed high-quality care for all, with optional supplemental insurance for those who want more. This is how most developed countries operate, and it works. Prescription 2. Harness technology and AI to expand access and efficiency. We're facing a looming shortage of healthcare workers. By 2028, we'll be short about 100,000 critical workers, with nurse and PCP shortages in many states. Technology can help. Telemedicine, remote monitoring, and AI-powered tools can make care more accessible, especially in underserved areas. AI can automate administrative tasks, improve diagnostics, and help clinicians focus on what matters most: patient care. Digital health ecosystems, integrating apps, wearables, and EHRs, empower patients and improve coordination, but we need strong government oversight to ensure equity, control costs, and prevent algorithmic bias. Technology is a workforce multiplier, not a replacement for human care. Prescription 3. Embrace diverse models for care delivery. Not all care can be virtual. We need to expand and support models that work. Federally qualified health centers, the VA system, the Indian Health Service, and critical access hospitals in rural areas. These models deliver excellent primary care and can be adopted for urban healthcare deserts as well. We should also welcome at-home care, enabled by technology, and even see medical tourism as a safety valve for our system. The key is to ensure everyone has access to basic, high-quality care, no matter where they live. Prescription 4. Use policy to promote healthy lifestyle and access to breakthroughs. Just as taxes and regulations helped reduce smoking, we need aggressive action to combat junk food and chronic disease. Tax unhealthy foods, subsidize healthy ones, and make breakthrough medicines like anti-obesity drugs widely available through government negotiation or even direct production if necessary. For expensive genetic therapies, government oversight can ensure broad but managed access with criteria and cost controls. As technology advances, costs will come down, but we must be strategic about when and how to adopt new treatments. Prescription 5. Accept that we can't have it all. Americans want healthcare that's affordable, accessible, professional, and personal. But resources are limited. Universal coverage isn't a cure-all. Other countries have long waits too. We need to focus on providing basic, comprehensive primary care for all, and let hospitals specialize in complex procedures and technology integration. Disruptors, retail clinics, telehealth, AI should be seen as collaborators, not competitors. Hospitals can become centers of excellence, coordinating care across networks and leveraging technology for better outcomes. Prescription 6. Rebuild trust in healthcare. Perhaps our biggest challenge is restoring trust. High costs, opaque pricing, and ethical lapses in research have eroded confidence in the system. We need more transparency, accountability, and empathy. AI can help detect fraud, but we must also police ourselves and admit when we don't have all the answers. During the COVID-19 pandemic, people trusted their doctors more than scientists or government agencies. We need to use that trust to communicate honestly, admit uncertainty, and partner with patients. The rise of misinformation and miracle cures makes this even more urgent. The best way to fight disinformation is with compassion, expertise, and partnership. A parting thought. Herodotus, the ancient Greek historian, described a system in Babylon where everyone in the community took responsibility for the sick. That spirit of shared knowledge, responsibility, and care remains at the heart of medicine, even as technology transforms everything else. Writing this book has made me more aware than ever of how fast medicine is changing. AI, home healthcare, retail medicine, gene therapies, the list goes on. 10 years from now, the landscape will look very different. The disruptors we've discussed are just the beginning. But none of these breakthroughs will matter until we build a healthcare system that is innovative, collaborative, equitable, and cost-effective. We need to recognize the interconnectedness of health, individual, community, and societal, and commit to solutions that work for everyone. Healthcare policy is too often shaped by politics and slogans. We need independent expert panels to guide us, and we need ongoing open conversations about what's working and what needs to change. I hope you'll join that conversation on our website, in your communities, and in your own lives. The future of healthcare is being written right now. Let's make sure it's a story of progress, compassion, and care, one human being at a time. I can't wait to see what comes next. This has been Part 2, The Great Healthcare Disruption by Marschall Runge. I'm Bob Boudelier. I have many resources for innovators building medical products and learning AI on my website at InnoGuide.net. I want to thank Steve McIntyre for producing this, and I want to thank you for joining. That's a wrap. We'll see you next time.